Today's subject on graphic adaptations is much older than the 90s bad girl phenomenon, and not even included in my copy of, where is it here? Wizard Magazine's Bad Girl Special, mainly because she didn't have a comic out in the 90s, but in many ways she's the original ground zero bad girl in comics. In 2011, the long-running Comic Buyer's Guide ranked her as #1 in a list of 100 sexiest comic characters, so nobody can question her place as a bad girl in this video. She wears a chainmail bikini with fiery red hair and is gifted with unbelievable fighting abilities, and she also got a movie made in the 80s. Let's talk about Red Sonja. So how do I explain Red Sonja? See, it's a little complicated. You might think that she's just a spin-off character from Conan, and you'd be mostly right, but there's a weird little wrinkle in her origin story that's worth discussing. So, dude created Conan, who's a barbarian in the Hyborian Age. This is a fantasy past, a mythological past like Middle-earth or Game of Thrones. A past not based in history, filled with magic and creatures and wizards and swords and dragons, but dude's Red Sonja wasn't a part of any of that. See, Robert Howard wrote novels of Conan, but then in the 70s Marvel got the rights and they started publishing Conan comics, and in issue 23 we see our first appearance of Red Sonja. So yes, she is a spin-off character in the Conan comics, but Howard's original Red Sonja, with a Y, not a J, was written in a short story fighting pirates in the 1600s. It was only Marvel Comics that brought her into the Conan world in the Hyborian Age. She appears in dozens of issues as a fan favorite before getting her own series, but her first story in the comics was called Shadow of the Vulture and was an adaptation of the original Howard short story. So while, yes, Howard's original story wasn't in the world of Conan and Hyboria, that character isn't really the same character. The Marvel Comics character, connected to Conan, is the one that all of the comics and the movie are about. So in the movie that we're going to discuss, there's a credit given to Robert Howard as based on the character created by, and then the movie opens by placing the film in the Hyborian world. And since her origin is basically the same, and her character and look are the same, I suppose the difference is negligible, just a detail that's interesting to mention. Now, I also mentioned at the beginning of the video that Red Sonja didn't really have a comic in the 90s. Marvel had published their Conan adventures from the 70s through the 80s, crediting Barry Windsor Smith and Roy Thomas for her Marvel creation, and she did get her own monthly called The Adventures of Red Sonja in the early 80s, but it was Dynamite in 2011 that begins publishing all of her new adventures. There have been multiple monthly series in the years since, as well as dozens of miniseries. She's had crossovers with Witchblade, Tarzan, and Vampirella, and creators helming her books like Gail Simone and Mike Carey, Mirka Andolfo, Frank Cho, John Layman, and she's even been killed off and replaced by her own reincarnation. The comics have only gotten better as the years have gone on, but near the end of her time at Marvel, a live-action movie was released in the early 80s, so let's take a look at that. In 1982, Arnold Schwarzenegger made a splash with his Conan the Barbarian movie directed by John Milius. There was a sequel, Conan the Destroyer, in 1984, which I love, but is inarguably a more campy and less serious film. And in the following year, 1985, we saw the release of Red Sonja. This makes sense, right? The two Conans were financially successful, and Red Sonja would reunite director Richard Fleischer, who directed Conan the Destroyer, Dino De Laurentiis, who produced all three, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, who starred in all three. But it didn't really work out so well. So, first of all, Schwarzenegger isn't Conan. He plays a guy named Lord Calidor, and I'm sure it was some kind of legal or financial obstacle, but it's weird to see Conan, expect Conan, not have any measurable difference between Calidor and Conan, and then still not be Conan. Couple that with the marketing and a bunch of promotions making it seem like he was the star when he isn't in it by half, it's a little awkward. Now, forgive this comparison, but Red Sonja strikes me like Batman and Robin after Batman Forever. Like, both Batman movies were lesser sequels to the classic Tim Burton movie, while Destroyer and Red Sonja are lesser sequels to the inaugural Conan movie, but more so that, like Schumacher before him, Fleischer's essentially rewarded with Red Sonja after Conan the Destroyer is a step down already. Even though it was still fun enough, both directors really go off the rails on their second attempts. It's more of what they were doing the first time out, but miscalculated how forgiving people were for the camp and the corny tone. Red Sonja was cast well. Bridget Nielsen was arguably at the height of her fame in the mid-80s. Now, she doesn't have the iconic chainmail bikini. She gets more of a Xena warrior princess kind of battle dress. Sandal Bergman was another returning Conan cast member who plays a totally different character than they had previously. Bergman was reportedly offered the role of Red Sonja and passed on it to play the villain. And we also see a very young Ernie Reyes Jr., better known to Turtles fans as Kino from TMNT 2 Secret of the Ooze. And in the music department, we get an Ennio Morricone score for the movie, which is far better than it deserved. But overall, after 40 years, it's pretty hard to hate on this movie, which is just a silly bit of fun. Even if you want to take it a bit more seriously, fans should at least be moderately happy. They basically got her origin right. They adhered to the canon. They did the whole goddess appearing and giving her great skill with a blade, provided that she doesn't lay with a man unless he beat her in combat first, which that seems pretty twisted.
No man may have me unless he has beaten me in a fair fight.
So, the only man that can have you is one who has tried to kill you. That's logic.
So that's Red Sonja for you. There have been numerous attempts to remake the live-action movie, but so far none have got to the filming stage. The comics have so many jumping on points, and I really haven't read enough to make a solid suggestion of which titles are the best. In preparation for this video, I really just downloaded and read the original run of Red Sonja from the Marvel Comics to give me a baseline of what's going on there. So please put down in the comments if you have any suggestions of what are the best Red Sonja comics to start with. Maybe it'll be something to put on my reading list, and I'll see you guys next week.